responding to that overnight, saying Russia is associated with the bear. There are no paper bears. Bit of a joke there. Joining us now is former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Bill Taylor, and Evelyn Farkas, as former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Russia, Ukraine, and Eurasia. So, Zelensky speaking, but let's just get to a little bit of what you heard him say right at the onset of his speech.
Dear leaders, we are now living through the most destructive arms race in human history, because this time includes artificial intelligence. And if there are no real security guarantees except friends and weapons, and if the world can't respond even to all threats, and if there is no strong platform for international security.
All right, first to you, Ambassador Taylor. Listening to what you're hearing Zelensky say, certainly something I'm sure he was speaking to Donald Trump about, and seeing what has been put out on Trump's social media about Ukraine being able to regain all of its territory from Russia, which is something that he has said the complete opposite of when talking about trying to negotiate a ceasefire and the end to the war. What is your take on what you think might actually happen? Is this going to turn into, for example, a policy change after what you've seen?
Sure, I think it could. I think it very well could. President Trump now indicates that he understands that Ukraine has great potential. It needs support. It needs weapons. It needs the economic support. It needs sanctions on Russia. So President Trump recognizes that Ukraine has the potential to take back land. And for that to happen, we will need to provide weapons and other forms of support for Ukraine. Coming through the Europeans, that's all fine. But there's a lot of resources available to do this. And if President Trump is ready to do that, provide the weapons through the Europeans, then yes, this could be a real policy change.
Evelyn, when you look at this, what do you think it was, from an educated guess, and from knowing sort of how he operates and the space of what's happening in this region, what is it that you think is prompting this potential about-face?
Yeah, I think, Sarah, the biggest tip-off for me was the Truth Social posting that the president put up, where he referred to lines for gasoline in Russia. So the Ukrainians have been very strategic. They are now targeting two kinds of oil facilities inside Russia. The ones that are exporting oil to other countries. This is where Russia's money comes from. And then the other depots where they hold the oil for domestic consumption. And obviously, you could have lines in Russia if those are targeted. That's political pressure. So financial pressure plus political pressure. Somebody obviously briefed the president on this. That somebody could have been Mike Waltz, who's now in place and understands these issues. Of course, intelligence officials understand this very well. And President Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. And at the same time, as the good ambassador just hinted, Ukraine is capable of taking back land. Why? Because there's also information on that. The Ukrainians have taken back a little bit of land in Sumy, which is on the border with Russia. They also have managed to hold the Russians back. The Russian offensive is more or less over now.
What do you expect, Ambassador, as far as the scene that is happening there now in Ukraine? What is your sense of what will happen if the United States does not follow through with what you're seeing, and Europe follow through with what you're seeing from Donald Trump in this new post?
Well, sir, the Ukrainians as well as the Europeans are pursuing kind of a dual track. On the one hand, they very much want the Americans to be engaged and provide support. And they want President Trump to be there in strong support of the Ukraine, both with weapons and with economic sanctions on the Russians. So they're pursuing that track. But they understand that they can't count on that forever. And the Ukrainians and the Europeans are putting together their own capabilities, are developing their own defense industrial base, are developing their own military capabilities that allow them to push the Russians back and defend themselves, defend both Ukraine and defend Europe from an aggressive Russia. So I expect both of these strategies.
All right, Ambassador Taylor, thank you for that. Let me ask you really quickly, Evelyn. You have sort of looked at Russia's capabilities here, and there is a real change. Something that we were expecting to happen has not happened. Explain.
Well, we're expecting, of course, the Russians to continue to ramp up their offensive. They're not ramping it up. They're not able to do it. The Ukrainians, they do need more weapons. So I think the one thing I would point out that hasn't really been highlighted, underlined, is that President Trump did not say that we're going to provide more military systems or that we're going to sanction. He threw the ball back in the European court, understandably, but it's tricky for them. So I think we need to see what Russia has planned next, but I don't think they have a lot of great options if the Ukrainians continue. But they need long-range ammunition to do an even better job.
To be able to potentially get some of that territory back that Donald Trump was talking about. Evelyn Farkas, Ambassador Taylor, thank you both so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. This is CNN News Central.
Situation Room up next.